Today, I want to speak to you about how to start and how to master the plant-based diet. And there's so much energy behind people wanting to start and they get excited, but then they run into some little hiccups. Maybe someone in the family is giving them a hard time, or maybe they're having a lot of bloating, or maybe they've gotten to where the point they lost some weight and now they're kind of plateauing and they're like, what do I do? Who can I help? Who can help me? So those are some really common questions and some ways to start the plant-based diet to avoid some of the pitfalls when people are transitioning to anything new. That is what we're going to talk about. So, by the way, my name is Dr. Lori Marbus. I'm a board-certified family and lifestyle medicine physician who's been on a plant-based journey myself for 13 plus years. I've seen thousands of people who eat a whole food plant-based diet because I'm licensed in every single state in this country and DC. So literally I can tell you with confidence, I've pretty much seen it all. So I want to point you to a very helpful resource if you're interested. It's our new book called Plant-Based 101. It's the ultimate guide to starting and mastering a whole food plant-based diet. And let me just kind of walk you through some of the things that we're going to highlight today, how to start, that's actually in this book. So everything I speak about is here. There's recipes, around 30 or so, just to get you started. But this is really an easy to use manual that really will answer your questions in a very direct, easy to understand form. And we talk about all the potential, again, pitfalls that some people may struggle with. You can see the link below. You can get it on Amazon as a Kindle download or as a print book. We do apologize that it's a little bit more expensive on the print because of all the beautiful photos that you will see throughout the book, and any additional books that we will be putting out, we'll try to be keeping that in mind. But let's just kind of walk through the strategy of why we did this, because we get the same questions, we give the same answers, but we wanted to make it very succinct to help people. So, for example, when you look at the table of contents, let me just walk you through what you're going to be thinking about as you start a whole food plant-based diet. Is first of all, what even is a whole food plant-based diet, right? So this is going to be an important question to answer. Is it's fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, nuts, and seeds in their whole form. So the closer you are to the nature package, the better it is for you. Now, granted, beans and things you have to cook, so there's a little being process there, I guess. But when we talk about ultra processed plant foods, these are the things that you'll see, like the Beyond Burgers, the Impossible Burgers, the fake and mock cheeses, things like that. Those are the things you want to be consuming much less of, and preferably not at all. So, but that's the big component of this, is explaining even what it is. Some people get a little confused on that. And so then we talk about the macronutrients and the micronutrients, meaning the protein, the carbohydrates, the fats. Do you need to worry about certain things like your protein? No, you're going to get plenty of protein in a whole food plant-based diet if you eat enough calories to sustain a healthy weight. We talk about high protein foods, some of the myths and misconceptions. Also, we talk about, again, what are whole foods versus processed versus ultra processed foods. We kind of mentioned that a while ago. How do you transition, right? So what are some of the steps to guide you to transition? We talk about there's basically two camps here. There's people who generally ease into transition. Then there's going to be people who are like, I'm all in. I'm going 100% overnight. That's how I did. That's a little bit more stressful. But an easy way to do this is maybe start with one meal at a time. Breakfast first, right? For a week. Then go breakfast, lunch, then breakfast, lunch, dinner. Look at the repertoire of recipes that you're already consuming and make that part of your normal rotation of foods. So that is one way to transition to a plant-based diet. We talk about dealing with cravings and withdrawals, meal planning and prep for beginners, kitchen essentials and grocery shopping guide, right? Again, if you guys are just jumping on, Brittany Drudy and I, this book link below to get, I'm walking you through what we decided was important because, again, we help so many people, and I'm giving you some little bits as we go along the book. So let's say talking about dealing with cravings and withdrawal, right? What are those simple one-to-one meal swaps that you can do? So let's say that you're looking at a chili, right? And it's usually, maybe it's meat heavy. So what kind of beans can you do? So you can do multiple beans. You can throw in some bell peppers and the corn and all the same spices. We're just swapping out the protein from meat to legumes, right? So let's say that, how do you do meal planning and prep for beginners? I think, again, it goes back to look what you're already consuming that's already whole food plant-based. Start there. That's your basics. And then what's going to be an easy switch? So let's say you're doing you like spaghetti and marinara, right, with meatballs. So now you can easily make tons of recipes, especially like the Giroudi family YouTube, which is Brittany wrote this with me. You can make some great plant-based variations upon that. So that is one way to look at it, is like, what's already plant-based fully? What can I transition to a pretty easy plant-based meal, and then go from there, right? So the other piece here is batch cooking. There is a lot more chopping and things that come with this. It's a little bit more labor intensive, but once you kind of get into rhythm, probably twice a week, I would say do some meal prepping, like batch cooking. Sundays and Wednesdays are good ways to approach. Then we talk about nutrient-dense plant-based foods and their health benefits, right? We really dive into the deep dive of, what do you do if you're diabetic? I heard I have to restrict carbohydrates. What about hypertension? These medications may need to be reduced. And those are two places I would say really, really important that people need to pay attention. So if you're on diabetic medications, hypertension medications, you may get very quickly, and it may not even take a huge weight loss, right? I've seen people maybe lose 5 pounds and we're already stopping diabetes medications. Not an uncommon scenario. So paying attention to that. And again, the nuances of that are probably for another book that we'll be publishing around each chronic disease. We're going to talk about that. But those are some things we talk about. We talk about the importance of fiber and its resources, how to get enough fiber. Are you going to get enough fiber? We also talk about how to avoid certain nutritional deficiencies, things that you're concerned about, like what supplements. What are some natural sources? Also, we talk about labs. What labs should you be getting on a plant-based diet? Speaking of, for example, your B12, making sure that you're getting enough iron and things like iodine that can affect your thyroid. So we talk about all of that, what labs you should be getting, what are the markers, different things like that. And then we also speak about pregnancy, breastfeeding, children, and athletes. These are kind of some unique and special populations, older individuals as well. Is there anything special that we need to pay attention to there? And then we talk about the recipes. And the fun thing that I really like is, then we dive in a little bit deeper into the ecosystem of eating, right? So what do we do when we are eating out? What do? You look at the menu, right? Look at the different menu options. What is plant-based friendly, right? So let's say there's some side dishes. Let's say there's some side of steamed vegetables, a sweet potato on one side, and maybe some beans or a bean chili or something, or minestrone soup. You could say, hey, can I get all these sides and put them as one? Or look at their salads. Maybe they're very rich salads, but you just say, hey, hold the cheese for me. Add some avocado and say, can you make that a switch so I'm not paying more for less food? That is a really important thing to talk about. So most of the time, people are very accommodating when you tell them, hey, I can't eat this. Can we switch this for that? That's perfect. And many, many times now, restaurants, most of the time, will have at least one plant-based entree that you can feel pretty good about it. Again, depending on your oil status and where you want to avoid. Just know that this absolutely can happen. One thing I love to do is we like to look for ethnic restaurants. Like Ethiopian is absolutely some of my favorite. You have Indian, you have Nepalese, you have Mexican, all of these Italian. There's all these different ethnicities that will absolutely have some plant-based options for you. You just have to look at the menu and be open and looking for solutions. The other thing is, when you're traveling, we're traveling full-time in an RV now, and I can talk a lot about what do you do there, small spaces. We talk about the myths and misconceptions. What do you do with family who's giving you a really hard time? How do you bring kids into this, right? What do we need to pay attention to? And then we give you some index, right? We talk about what are some of the high plant protein foods, plant sources of iron, calcium, zinc, magnesium, iodine. What do you do if you get a lot of toots? A little bit of flatulence going on. Yep, that can happen. What do you do? Well, that's in the book here. Let me pull up, again, some humor. How to use humor to diffuse a very stressful situation. So again, the link is below. You guys, the Kindle edition is only like $5. We made it as cheap as we possibly could. If you want the print edition, it's a little bit more, again, because of the high number of photos. We wanted it to be enjoyable to look at, not just read. And we hope this is a fantastic resource that's going to be around for a long time, because this is, again, it's a go-to manual. Don't be just like, oh, it's another cookbook. There are recipes, but this is made to help answer those questions that so many people are seeking, and they're not quite sure if it's a reliable source. So this is a physician, myself, and someone who's lost, not myself, but Brittany lost 70 pounds on a plant-based diet. And between the two of us, we have over 2 decades of experience and thousands of conversations and thousands of recipes and thousands of meals, so helping you, this is where to start. So someone did ask a question on here. I'm having a difficult time figuring out the difference between a plant-based diet and a whole foods plant-based diet, or maybe the whole foods, I don't know. But a plant-based diet is pretty much, it could be, let's say, a junk plant-based diet. It can also be a whole food plant-based diet. So the whole food plant-based diet is where I want to direct you. Those are, again, those foods that are close to the way nature provided them, right? So you don't have to do much to understand what it is. Like you're looking at an avocado, it's an avocado, right? So then you start looking at the guacamole. Now that's avocado with some other things, but there actually might be some oil in it, or maybe there's some dairy in it. Like I was really surprised at some Mexican restaurants, like, hey, I'm vegan. Can I get your guac on the side because I'm getting the fajitas with veggies, and can I have guac instead of the cheese? They're like, well, our guac has, what they say, some cream or something in it. They added inside the guac. I'm like, why do you need to add cheese to the guac, or whatever? So those are some good things to be thinking about. So the whole food package, like if you're looking at box things, it should be all things that you understand. Broccoli, carrots, and onions, or, these things should not be like take a chemical degree to decipher. And so those are the things that I'd say is the difference between a plant-based diet, which they say could say plant-based, but could still actually have things like dairy in them, or they'll talk about like casein or something. So even though it says plant-based, it's not fully quote unquote vegan, whole food plant-based without, sometimes they'll sneak in the dairy components, or gelatin, which is also an animal derivative ingredient sometimes. So just some things you got to be really good at. We also talk about how to read labels, what you should be looking for. The ratio of, calories to fiber, what's a good point there. Lots and lots of stuff there. We've gotten some great reviews, and again, just trying to really help people. Someone says that CE says, I have the book. It's been very, very useful information, well laid out, and beautiful book too. So we wanted you to make it an enjoyable experience, utilizing the book. Again, also very fruitful. So you can go straight to that, read it within 1 to 2 minutes, have your answer, and be on your way and out the door, right? This was not meant to be a masterpiece in scientific, a deep dive like some of the major amazing books like Dr. Greger builds. That was not our intention. Our intention here is to be a quick reference guide to help you really grab the answers that you're looking for, the struggles, the problems, and overcome them. Because nothing is worse than seeing someone who's making strides, but then maybe hit up against some family resistance. Like, I just can't do it. I don't want to deal with my family and their struggles. So then they go back to eating a way of, the standard American diet and continue down the path of chronic disease. That is so disheartening, right? To see someone who's seeing the benefits, but then they hit their first roadblock and they don't know how to deal with it. And they don't always have me in their pocket or someone else that they can refer to or speak to. And instead of searching for YouTube, like, this book is the beginning of answering, like, maybe they need to figure out different questions they should be asking. You're going to get different answers, right? So we help you see things differently and educate yourself on solutions versus just the problem. So there's always a solution. It's just a matter of looking for the right sources to help you get there. So I hope you found that beneficial. Again, I have tons of other videos if you want to go more in nuance into all sorts of subjects. But to get on the high top of funnel, what can I do to help start a plant-based diet? If you're already on a plant-based diet, there's some things like the labs, for example, we talk about that we can walk you through. That's a great start. If you know someone who's interested, this is a great resource as well. And honestly, I wish I could just give it away for free, but there are publication costs that we have to cover. So that's why we try to make at least the downloadable version as easy to access as possible. So hope you found that helpful. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you as always, guys. I'm sending gratitude, joy, love, and healing your way because, as you know, we need more of that in our lives and this world. So hope you you enjoy it. And if you have the book, please comment below. Love to hear your thoughts and feedback. And if you're new, please subscribe. I've been told I keep forgetting to ask. Please hit the subscribe button. It's around here somewhere. And appreciate you guys as always. Have a great rest of your day.